In Washington, D.C. today, the Senate approved a resolution aiming to reverse a Biden administration rule on environmental, social, and governance, or ESG. That bill would stop pension fund managers from basing their decisions on retirement investments on factors such as climate change. The resolution would overturn the Department of Labor rule that makes it easier for fund managers to consider ESG issues for shareholder rights decisions and investments such as proxy voting. South Dakota Senator John Thune spoke out about ESG before this vote.
And people in this country are already experiencing the impact of Democrat policies, whether that's higher inflation, whether that's higher taxes, higher interest rates, a rocky economy. The one thing we shouldn't be doing now is piling on yet another burden on Americans.
The measure has already passed the House and will now head to the president's desk, where Biden is expected to veto the resolution. To be continued.
I just signed this veto.
In the first veto of his presidency, President Biden says he's taking on so-called MAGA Republicans. The veto effectively kills a GOP-led effort to discourage companies from supporting environmental or social causes, or what Republicans call
the latest woke left policy.
That was Joe Biden blocking Republicans' attempt to stop his wicked ESG policies. His ESG policies, along with his CDC mandates on various industries like farms. Biden's ESG and other acronym policies has been working through the FDA to drive farmers out of business by way of making things too expensive for them to farm. And that's just one of the reasons for the rising cost in food and other things during this administration.
Mr. McMillan, would you like 30 seconds more?
Allow me to introduce myself. I represent the rent is too damn high party. People are working 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week and some a third job. Women can't afford to take care of their children, feed their children breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is politics as usual. Playing a silly game. It's not going to happen. The rent too damn high movement, the people I'm here to represent can't afford to pay their rent. They're being laid off right now as I speak. They can't eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Listen, someone's stomach, child's stomach just growled. Did you hear it? You gotta listen like me.
A few days ago, I did a video asking people to be on the lookout for people on the left who all of a sudden meaning after January 21st, they will finally begin to acknowledge the high cost of goods and services. Or in other words, inflation. They're going to begin to acknowledge it. Whereas for 4 years, especially in these last few months when President Harris was running for president for her second term, they've been acting as if there is no inflation or making excuses like there is no inflation because things are not as high as they were 3 weeks ago. In other crazy ways, they've been trying to explain away inflation in order to cover up for this current administration's deliberate attacks on this country's economy. And in less than 48 hours after I did that video, I hear this.
I was gonna say, he doesn't seem like a sensitive person.
No, he ain't sensitive, but he don't take a whole lot of mess. I'll say that. And so if you get on his bad side, you could definitely get on his bad side.
Oh yeah, like it say any man. So all right, bless her wet pussy with an empty wallet.
Oh my gosh.
What the hell is a heavy man trying to say? Tree dog has a so-called man. Oh, she got another one. Oh, Lord. Sir King.
I don't know about stocking up for 4 years, but what we gonna have to do is cut down on spending as much as we can for the next 4 years, because stuff's about to get real expensive with those tariffs if they do actually go through.
Right.
Why now? Excuse me, not now. She said later. And when is later? After January 21st. But why coming soon? How come not right now? How come not right now? Why we gotta wait till after January 21st for stuff to start getting high? How come? I could have swore they high right now, so why I gotta wait for? It's been people complaining since 2019, so why all this, what is all this coming soon stuff?
Mr. Speaker, as Congress works to reauthorize the Farm Bill, I rise today to deliver the 17th installment of my Farm Bill Impact Series, where I'm highlighting various aspects of the legislation that deserve Congress' awareness and support. The Farm Bill won't ever be effective, though, if the stepped-up basis is eliminated and if producers get saddled with unjust capital gains taxes. Sadly, that's exactly what President Biden's budget proposal does. It works to eliminate the stepped-up basis and impose capital gains taxes on assets that have been held in family trust or ownership for over 90 years. This is the farm killer tax. Here's why the stepped-up basis is so important. Let's say you're a young person working on your family farm and you're slowly taking on responsibility and risk. You work for your parents until the time comes for you to take over the land, equipment, and livestock. When that happens, the federal government should not jump in and impose taxes on the unrealized gains of these inherited assets. This principle is called the stepped-up basis and has long been precedent in the tax code with tons of bipartisan support. The president's budget, however, works to eliminate this, which would destroy family farms overnight. The day-to-day trials of operating a successful farm, ranch, or small business are challenging enough without worrying about paying devastating capital gains taxes. And now, the Biden administration wants to impose new taxes on these people. Unbelievably, it gets even worse when dismantling stepped-up basis. President Biden's budget proposal also includes the farm killer tax. The President Biden's budget proposal, there's a plan to impose capital gains taxes on farms that have been in the family for over 90 years. Think about that. In 1940, the average cost of Kansas farmland was $50 an acre. Now, irrigated land is as much as $4,000 per acre. Imagine the capital gains tax implications on that history of ownership. This proposal would propose hundreds of thousands of dollars in new capital gains taxes on agriculture producers, destroying their livelihoods.
Or in other words, more on Biden's ESG, CBDC via the FDA to cripple farmers, making the cost of operation too high for them, with the aim being to turn them into sharecroppers of their own land and ultimately having them to turn over their land for government ownership. That's why the rent been too damn high. Inflation. Had some folks going to Wiener Schnitzel a few days ago. Said, hey, you want something back? I said, yeah, I'll have some dogs. Hand number 20. Hand number 20. Came back with my change and it was just some cents. I'm looking at the cents he gave me. I'm looking at my hand and I'm looking at him and his face and I'm looking back at my hand. And I'm staring at him like, where the papers at? How come it's only metals in my hand? Could a nigga get some papers in my palm? Don't have to be a lot. Maybe 2 or 3 papers. Don't have to be a lot of papers in my palm. Could a nigga get 2 or 3 papers with this cents? Nope. $19 and some change for 2 dogs, some fries and a soda, like they went to Dodger Stadium to get the food. Because that's those sports venue prices or prices they be having at Disneyland or something. ESG, CBDC, via the FDA. Now the people on the left because they are registered Democrats, or on the left because they hate Trump, or on the left just because Kamala got a vagina and her husband ain't black, or whatever their reasoning is for being on the left. They've been explaining away inflation. But that's going to stop in a few weeks. What's in a few weeks? January 21st. After January 21st, they won't be explaining nothing. Inflation will be fully acknowledged after January 21st just because it's Trump and his Red Party in the White House. But I did that video on January 1st.
Okay,
Let's
Mr.
talk
McMillan.
about the issue.
Mr.
People can't afford to pay their
Cuomo,
rent.
30
Stop.
seconds for you, sir.
Rent is too damn high.
I played that clip in that video and in another video I did about inflation. Now let's see what the talk was on January 4th from the left. This is Hakeem Jeffries.
It's time for us to come together, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans, to get things done for the people. In that spirit, House Democrats will work hard to find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues in the incoming administration on any issue, whenever and wherever possible, in order to make life better for everyday Americans. For far too long in this country, the cost of living has gone up, but the size of the middle class has come down. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Childcare costs are too high. Insurance costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. America is too expensive.
Rent is too damn high, is what he said. Wasn't no explanations, but it was 3 years ago.
We're going to keep both of those two promises.
Chairman Jeffries, inflation has hit a 30-year high, and the House is about to vote on this $1.75 trillion bill. What are you telling members who are seeing these numbers and are concerned about it?
I'll speak briefly and then yield to my two colleagues. Inflation is a concern that both Democrats and Republicans should be, working to try to address as best as possible on the fiscal policy side. But of course, a lot of the inflationary issues have to be dealt with in terms of monetary policy with the Fed. And they've done a good job, in my view, the Fed, in helping us get through this once-in-a-century pandemic through the execution of monetary policy. And hopefully they'll address these inflationary concerns, which in many ways relate to the COVID-19 pandemic, creating supply chain dynamics. Now, a wide range of economists who have looked at the issue of inflation have concluded, one, that they expect these are short-term issues, unlike the dynamics that we confronted where we saw double-digit inflation in the 1970s. This is not that.
When did America get too expensive? Answer: when it was said that Trump was going to be in the White House after January 21st. 3 years ago, he was explaining inflation just like the others here online who've been doing this for 4 years. January 21st, there will be no more explanations. Inflation will be a fact, and all of a sudden. But in the commentary I gave on the first, I said that the right is going to have excuses. All of a sudden. Right now, though, no. No excuses. Stuff just hot, period, point blank, according to the right. And they're right. They are right. But ain't going to be no excuses. They're going to start making excuses and providing explanations for their man after January 21st. This is SheepsStaySleep DS1.
That's why the shit at Family, you notice when you go to Family Dollar, you spend $100 so fast now? Remember that? Everything at Dollar General ain't a dollar no more. That's because we not taxing them. See, if we start taxing their ass, they gonna drop that price. Because guess what? We want y'all to drop them taxes again. See, this is how the game goes. See, y'all think if Trump put these tariffs on these countries, the price of it is going to go up. No, it's not. Because they already have a huge profit margin. So Trump is saying, y'all making all this extra money, y'all need to kick some back. Yeah.
I'm going to just let that sit right there with y'all. It'll be in the description box with the timestamp so y'all can go over there and hear him insult your intelligence further, because he had more to say, and even more to say before the clip I just played. He was talking before that and after that. But that's you. If you're on the left and you listening to this commentary, that's you. What Sheeps just did for his man is what y'all been doing for y'all's man and war man for 4 years. And am I gonna wrap my hands around what he said and strangle it to death? No. I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna let that sit right there with y'all. I ain't finna say nothing. But the right is gonna be doing what you've been doing for 4 years. Now let's do it to it. I want y'all to put into your YouTube search engines how Trump's tariffs will hurt the American economy.
In this video, we're talking about why lumber tariffs are a total scam and the shadowy group that has been behind the push for lumber tariffs for the past 35 years. In my last video, I talked all about Canadian lumber tariffs, what they are, how they came about, and what the current situation is. As a quick recap, tariffs are a tax paid by importers that are really passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. The current lumber trade dispute really dates back to the 1980s and continues to today. The latest development is an announcement from the Commerce Department under President Joe Biden that stated that they would likely double lumber tariffs from 9% to 18% after a short review period.
I played that clip because the left has been scaring people about how Trump's tariffs would drive up the cost on things like lumber. Meanwhile, Biden's tariffs has already been doing that. As well as his tariffs on Mexico, that's drove up prices too. Biden's tariffs on China causes China to raise costs on other countries, and we've ended up paying for it all. But the left only wants you to think that these rises in costs are gonna start happening. Start happening when? After January 21st. And I'm not going to do it now, but when I get around to it, I'm going to show y'all what Biden and the President Harris administration has been doing to drive up prices on goods and services. They've been doing it deliberately. But just in case I don't get around to it, check my community wall where you will see the face of Glenn Beck. Click on that video, and from there you will get an idea of why my banana split cost me $7. Remember I complained to y'all about that? Yeah, click on that video. Right? No, as a matter of fact, I'll just have it in the description box, and you can see one of the tactics that this administration been up to.
All right then.